tonight, working on the bike again. My cylinder hone arrived, so I was able to hone out the cylinder barrels. It literally took a minute or so. It took longer to mount this in the drill and oil it up than it did to actually do it. So I honed both of the bores. I got a nice 45-degree crosshatch in there, and the bores cleaned up really well. It didn't take a lot, but even there was a sort of mark at the top where you could see where the top of the piston was stopping. There was no ridge there. I couldn't feel a ridge. After honing, that's all gone. So I don't think there's much wear on the bores at all. I fitted the piston rings without breaking anything, made sure I got those the right way up, made sure I got the gaps all correct. I've never really believed in that, about the setting the piston ring gaps across from each other, because they rotate. They do definitely rotate when the engine is running. So unless it's something to do with startup, in which case, you know, maybe that makes sense for the first startup, for the first little while, to make sure there's a less direct path through the gaps if the gaps happen to be lined up. But I honestly don't think it probably makes much difference. And they know they rotate because I've actually filmed it. There is film around where you can see the rings rotating. And of course, in a two-stroke engine, they're pinned so that they don't rotate, so they don't foul the ports. But I did it anyway. It's what the manual says to do, so I just followed the instructions in the manual. The hammer is here to stop the cam chain dropping down into the engine. So I've got the guides back in place, gaskets in place there. It was a bit fiddly getting the cylinder block down onto the pistons, compressing the rings, but there is a generous chamfer at the bottom of the cylinder, and you are able to just kind of get your fingers up in there and squeeze the rings enough to get this to drop down. But you're trying to do that, pull this inwards so that this can come through the little hole and not drop the chain down there. You can see I've got a piece of wire on the chain as a backup, just to make sure I don't lose it back inside the engine, because that would be a real pain. I have checked with the Kickstarter, the pistons move up and down freely, so the rings are all good, nothing's broken. That should all be fine. Everything's covered in oil, which of course makes everything slippery and harder as well. I was hoping to get the head on tonight as well and get the valve gear in place, but I've had a snag. And the snag is I'm missing 2 of the engine dowels. So these are the little dowels. There should be 4 of them. I only seem to have 2 of them, which is interesting because I have no idea where the other 2 have gone, or where the little rubber seals that should be in there go. So you can see this dowel, there's a gap around it, this one, and this one. And then there are these little rubber rings that go in there to seal. I don't remember seeing those at all when I disassembled the engine. I have got photos of when I was taking it apart, and from the photos at the top of the head, there are no dowels in place, and there are none of those little rings. I don't have a photo of the bottom of the head, but the dowels must have been in here. And those little rubber rings, I honestly have no idea where they've gone. So I've been looking. They could have been in the ultrasonic cleaner, but no, they're not in there. Oops, I drained that out. There's no way they can go out the little drain hole. There's a little sort of drain with little holes drilled in it there, so no big bits can go out. I checked in the bucket just in case, nothing in there. I emptied all the sand out of the sandblaster, even though I'm pretty sure I didn't sandblast the cylinder block because I wouldn't have wanted to risk damaging the bores. I definitely did the head, and even then I was very careful to mask off around the valve seats and things. It was just doing the fins. But I emptied all the sand out of this, sifted through it all, and nope, not there, put it all back. And the only other place was my parts washer, and so I've completely drained this, which it needed doing anyway because it was getting really horrible. And there's nothing in there. So no oil seals, nothing. The only thing I can think of is I did take everything outside and had water blasted it. So maybe I blasted them away at that point. In which case they'll be out there somewhere, living free in the garden. So that's really annoying. Hopefully I can just get them. I think things like this are just a standard sort of thing. Otherwise I'm going to have to get proper Honda ones, which could be tricky. So I'm hoping this is a standard sort of part. And then I can go ahead and assemble the rest of it. But the seat, the parts are still sitting there where I painted them. I might as well leave those there for now. I've got a few more bits and pieces on order that should arrive. And I did realize if I replace this is getting a bit annoying now because I replaced the seat lock. So now there's a different key for that. And if I replace the ignition key, it means I'll still need this key for the fuel filler. Unless the replacement key fits, but I doubt it. So I imagine I still need this key for the fuel filler cap, which means now this bike needs 3 different keys. There's actually a steering lock on this as well, down here somewhere, but apparently they're not very good. So I haven't even tried playing with that. I'll just leave that alone. So yeah, that's disappointing. I may need to wrap a bit more tape around this as I was moving things around. That cracked, so I might just wrap a little bit more tape on that just to insulate it properly. Gaskets in there. Yeah, super disappointing, but I must have lost those very early on because I have been very conscious of not losing these dowels after I've cleaned everything up. So it was kind of before I'd really started cleaning them up, or the very initial stages of cleaning things up, I lost them. Unless they were never there to start with, but I doubt that. I don't see how that would be the case. Because it would leak oil everywhere, I would imagine. But, so we're close. We're getting close. But that's all I can really do tonight.